Hi everyone, thank you for joining in today. I am Bethany Japchumba. I will be the only one in studio today, but I'm so happy to be here with you. I will be taking you through an introduction on getting started with AI on Azure. So an introduction on how to work with AI on Azure and everything in between, including how you can redeem your credits and also how you can be able to get started with the different services on Azure. Before I start, I'll go through the code of conduct. So ensure you are friendly on the chat, ensure you open. I'm very open to questions, so ensure you share your questions. You're very open to different viewpoints, and also ensure you're kind and considerate to everyone. You can type on the chat where you're joining us from, but from there, I'll go ahead directly to my slides and get started with the session. So today's session, as I've mentioned, is getting started with AI on Azure. I'll be taking you through a Learn module whereby we'll be covering a lot around what is Azure, what is AI, and what can we build with both AI and Azure. So before I get started with this, I have to go a bit into why exactly we are here today, and that is because of the Game of Learners clinics for AI and ML. The clinics is around getting started with AI and ML on Azure. Today we'll start with introductions. From introductions, we'll go to things like machine learning, how you can do machine learning on Azure, how you can do machine learning with Python on GitHub. And then afterwards, we go to the different services. So what about building a bot on Azure? What about creating a translator, an AI translator with Flask on Azure? And we'll also do some sessions which might be interesting, including Azure OpenAI service and a bit on responsible AI. So what you need to know for this program is the first thing is we have 13 Learn modules that will be covered during the entire period. Those Learn modules can be found on a Learn challenge. This is a cloud skills challenge whereby you can register and compete with the rest of the participants. So you can join in the challenge and see what exactly the rest are learning, gauge yourself with others, and also be able to compete with everyone. Then the next bit is around our online sessions. This is the first online session we're having, and we'll be having online sessions from today all the way to the end of April, every Tuesday and Thursday here at the Microsoft Reactor. We'll be talking, as I've said, about AI technologies and covering different key concepts around AI and Azure. To register for the entire series, because this is just the first series, so you can register for the entire series at aka.ms/joel/aiml/2023. All the links I'll place in the chat, so in case I pass by quickly, you can still see the links in the chat. The next bit is around what is expected of you after 5 weeks from now. That is, after you've gone through the whole 8 weeks of skilling, what else can you do? So number one, you'll have Azure credits to play around with Azure and build hands-on projects on Azure. Number two is preparing yourself for AI 900 exam. With this, you can be able to sit down for the exam and get your certification. We'll have giveaways at the end for certifications. So in case for students, it's free for you, but if you're a professional and you might need the extra certifications, we'll have giveaways at the end for the different certifications. Last but not least, we are always open to questions. We're always a community trying to interact with everyone. We want everyone to learn with us, everyone to get started with us and continue in the same route. So that means we have a WhatsApp channel, a WhatsApp group that you can interact with everyone who's part of the call today, as well as everyone who is leading the different sessions. So in case you want, you can join our WhatsApp channel, and yeah, it will be fun interacting with you, answering questions, as well as any feedback that you might have on the online sessions. Okay, so let's get started. I'll first start with guiding you on how to get started with Azure for Students. Azure for Students is a free annual subscription students get. So you can be able to build on Azure Cloud for free, as well as get access to different free resources. With this, you can interact with most of the AI services that we have, including things like cognitive services and so on. And when you're interacting with the AI services, some of them you actually get them for free, so you won't even have to use your credits. Some of them you'll have to use your credits, but then it is very useful if you're a student. It's very useful for you to sign up. Signing up is easy. So for you to sign up, you go ahead to ak.ms/Azure students or Azure for students, and you'll get a page like this. So in this page, if you're a student and you have a student email, you can click start free and start for free. As I said, we have free resources, free services that you can be able to get, and you actually don't need a credit card. So you can just sign up without using a credit card. So you can come here and see the different free services, especially the ones related to Azure AI. So for example, let me scroll down and look for something on Azure AI. Yeah, something like bot service. So you get 10,000 premium channel messages and unlimited standard channel messages always for free. Cognitive services, cognitive search, you get it for free at 50 MB storage for 10,000 hosted documents and 3 indexes per service. You'll learn how to utilize this. So probably you'll be able to gain insights on the same. And then the last bit, in case you don't have your student email, you can register using the GitHub Student Pack. So sign up for the GitHub Student Pack, and one of the packs here is Microsoft Azure. So let me drop the links for the two on the chat. In case you're not a student and you joined us today, don't worry, you still get access to Azure for free. This you can also find it on this link, Azure for free. It's Microsoft azure.microsoft.com/free. You can get free Azure regardless whether you're a student or not. And with this, how you'll get 200 credits, $200 of credits, and you'll have 30 days to use it. We have 30 days in the program, so this means it will cover the entirety of the program, and you'll be able to gain access, of course, to the free resources, gain access to different services, and so on. So yeah, in case you are new to Azure and you don't have access, you can sign up on those 3 ways. So number one, if you have a student email, sign up for Azure for Students at ak.ms/Azure Students. Second, at ak.ms/Azure Students, this is what you'll get. If you are a student but you don't have an email, a school email, you can get access to it through the GitHub Student Developer Pack. It's one of the packs here in the virtual event kit. So it's almost the first packs you'll see once you sign in. And then if you're not a student, you can create your free account with Azure and get $200 worth of credit for 30 days. Okay. You don't have to use Azure today, so you can sign up after we've done the session. You can go ahead and activate your Azure for Students. As I said, using this link, you'll need your student email. If you don't have your student email, you can use this link and get access to it. Okay, so I think that's it. Unless anyone has a question, I can proceed with today's module. I'm seeing Rahul is asking around the WhatsApp group is not allowing someone to join from that link. I will take a look at it and update the link after the call. So bear with me, I'll check that after the call and ensure you can be able to join the channel. Okay, I don't see any other question, but I'm happy. I'm getting replies from Minhele Nkosi from South Africa and Cynthia Nafula from Kenya. So I think I have everyone on board, so we can get started. this is the Learn module we're doing today, getting started with AI on Azure. If you want to follow along, you can follow along on Microsoft Learn. This is where the module is at. So you can follow along on the different units. We have about 10 units we are covering today. Hopefully we'll cover it in less than 40 minutes so that I can leave space for questions. And yeah, hoping you'll learn a lot about AI and Azure. This session is live and interactive. As you can see, I can be able to reply to your questions. I can be able to look at the chat as well as the slides. And so please interact with me, ask any questions you might have. Feel free to interact with everyone on the chat. And at the end of the day, I think we'll learn a lot. Okay. Let me post the Learn module link. There's a question on do we need an exam voucher for non-students? I have a few vouchers for non-students. So of course, the most active ones, I can be able to give a few vouchers. Not a lot, a few. But for students, you can be able to get the vouchers for free. I think this also answers Bunny's question. So are there 100% exam vouchers to non-students? I have a few, not entirely a lot, but I'll be able to give out a few at the end of the program. Okay, so for this session, you don't have to have any prerequisites. Just come in as you are, and there's someone who's asked who said he hasn't been able to join the previous sessions. You don't need to join the previous session. This is the first session, so you don't need to be in any other session. So you'll be able to flow well if this is your first time interacting with AI and Azure. So today we'll talk about all the different solutions you can work with on AI to make possible. And then at the end, we'll talk about responsible AI. Just a touch on it because, yeah, it's important to be able to understand the ethics around AI, even as we plan to build projects. It's important for us to understand the ins and outs of AI in terms of responsible and ethics. What we'll cover is I'll introduce you to AI, then the different subsets, including machine learning, anomaly detection, custom vision, natural language processing, knowledge mining, and then we'll go into a bit on understanding the risks with AI, the challenges, and then responsible AI. At the end, I'll have questions for you, so be keen. I'll be asking questions at the end. What exactly is AI? AI enables us as human beings to interact with computers in a sense that they are imitating human behavior. So it allows us to build applications that actually can mimic what we do, and we can be able to use this in various areas, so including health, helping people with physical disadvantages, things around smart infrastructure, entertainment, and so on. In short, AI just mimics human behavior, imitates what we can do as humans, the different capabilities we have, and tries to output the same thing. There are different categories in AI. So there's someone is asking, your list appears to be missing top tiers AI capabilities such as ChatGPT. We technically won't be talking about ChatGPT, but we'll be talking about Azure OpenAI service. I haven't included it on my list because it's relatively new. So we still have a lot to uncover there. But there's an entire session focused on OpenAI, Azure OpenAI service. So be sure to tune in for that. But I have included 5 main services. So the first one is machine learning. Machine learning is now teaching your computer models to, for example, make predictions from data, help you make decisions. In fact, from historical data to now give you trends and predictions of what might happen in future. So for example, I normally give this example, but I think that example fits better in anomaly detection. Anomaly detection is whereby you've trained a model to detect the errors and different unusual activities in a system. So this is part of machine learning because it's a model that you've trained to be able to, from historical data, it can be able to guess if there's anything wrong. And an example of this is, for example, in banking. So let's say um, you have different transactions every month, and one day it's 3 a.m. in the morning, and there's like 10 transactions from your account. Probably your bank may be like, okay, this is not right. It's it's unusual because 3 a.m. is not a time this person has made transactions before. So they may give you a call, or they may look into it and figure out what the issue is. And if there's a spillage in something, like you have a pipe, it's an IoT system, and there's a leak, and AI is detecting this, and it's saying, okay, there's something unusual here. I think water is supposed to be flowing, but it's not. So is it something it can alert everyone to come in and check? So that's anomaly detection. Then you have computer vision. Computer vision is now the ability of a system to be able to interpret what we see. For example, in videos, live feed, cameras, images, it can be able to detect and recognize different objects. So it can, for example, say this is a person, this is, for example, a fruit, and so on. And then it can also say this is an apple, this is a mango, this is an orange. So being able to also classify the different images. There's something also called spatial analysis. This is whereby it's able to detect movement. So for example, during COVID, you had to keep 6 feet apart from the person in front of you, so it can be able to detect the distance between you and the person in front of you. Then we have NLP. NLP is natural language processing, similar to computer vision, but now in terms of language. So an example you've shown is ChatGPT. So how can a computer be able to interpret what you say or what is written and give you reply based on that? You can also do things such as sentiment analysis here, analyze, okay, are these reviews positive, are they negative, and so on. And then the last bit is knowledge mining. Knowledge mining is the capability of an AI system to be able to go through multiple files and give you replies based on it. So it goes through an unstructured knowledge base, and it can give you information based on that. I'll talk about the 5 different areas and the different Azure services under them, and how you can be able to apply them in your projects. So let's start with the first one, machine learning. And machine learning is mainly the foundation of AI. And this is an example of how machines learn. So for example, botanists go out to the field, collect data in wildflowers, different wildflowers, and then they are labeled. So they're given, okay, this is this type of flower. This is, okay, this is where the labels come in. This is tulipa, this is berry something, and so on and so forth. Then once the data is labeled, they try and find a relationship between the different flowers. So they can find that, okay, tulipa looks like this doesn't look like this, and so on. So the model can now learn from the data. It knows this is tulipa, so how can it predict this is tulipa based on probably the petals, the sepals, the appearance, the color, and then it goes through the algorithm model. And now, if you have a new sample, a new flower in the field, you can be able to say, yeah, okay, if I take this through my model, it can be able to tell this is Bellis, Bellis perennis, I think. Yeah. So that's how machine learning works. In Azure, there's one main machine learning service, that's Azure Machine Learning. And in Azure Machine Learning, there are 3 different ways of you working around your machine learning models. The first bit is using automated machine learning. With automated machine learning, it gets your data, tries to find the best model for your data automatically. And then once done, it gives you, like, this is the top model, so on and so forth. In this one, you don't need to write any line of code. You just need to define, this is my data, this is label data, this is a train set, this is a test set. And then from there, you also define, this is what I'm trying to do. So probably I'm trying to predict the price of this thing. So that's a numerical value. The numerical value, you use regression. And from there, it gives you different models you can use, arranging it from the best to the one that performed not really the best. So it helps you come up with models very fast. Then the other one is machine learning designer. Machine learning designer is a drag and drop interface. So you already have your Azure machine learning, everything you need. So you have your data, but then you now have this interface that's empty and you have to define the entire process. So you drag the first thing is like your data, then you connect it to check if there's any missing values, connect it to, okay, there are no missing values, let's now go ahead and train the data, or check if there's something wrong with the data, normalize your data, and so on. Then train, score your model, and so on. Then we have the bit and under data and compute. I'll also add Azure Notebooks. So Notebooks is for developers who code in Python, code in R, and so on. With the notebooks, you get access to compute, so unlimited compute depending on how much you spend, and then you also get access to an interface where you can code, and yeah, the same way you have in your local VS Code or your local Jupyter notebooks, but then the benefit is compute because you can expand your compute and and that's the best part of it. And then of course pipelines. So pipelines now define all this. If you want to connect to automated ML, if you want to do the designer, if you want to do notebooks, you can connect all this using pipelines and determine what exactly you need, so is it training, the deployment, and so on. Yeah, that's a bit about machine learning. Next is anomaly detection. Anomaly detection, as I said, is trying to find if there's an error in your data, if there's something amiss. So, for example, if there's fraud happening, if there's a leak somewhere, and as you can see, this car is driving and trying to measure the speed, then you realize, oh, it stopped. So it's like, yeah, there's an error here. So this is mainly used in, for example, banks to detect your transactions. It can be used in other areas such as, for example, your IoT devices and so on. With anomaly detection, we won't go deep into this when you're doing our sessions, the next future sessions. But with anomaly detection, the main service is the Anomaly Detector, which is a pre-trained model, and you can get this using an API. Okay, and then the next bit is Azure Understanding Computer Vision. There's a question on the chat around Azure that just distracted me, so I have to answer before I continue. So there's someone asking, they've signed up with the link I provided, but they're not eligible for a free account. That may mean a lot of things, especially in case if you're no longer a student. It may mean you may not have access to it if you're not a student. So what you can do is just go ahead and sign up for the either GitHub student pack if you're still a student and your email is giving you errors. Our next session is on Thursday, so I think that will give you enough time for the approval process. If you're not a student, go ahead and get the free Microsoft account. All the links can be found in the chat, so in case you have any questions, yeah, the links can be found in the chat. Okay, so the next service is computer vision. The next area of AI is computer vision. As I said, this deals with what you see. So some of us have assisted vision. And vision is just understanding images. And with computer vision, it divides an image into different specific pixels and can be able to interpret and say, for example, this is a tree, this is not, this is a forest, this is a building, and so on and so forth. There's an app called Seeing AI. It's a great application and a great example of how computer vision works. With Seeing AI, it gives the user, mostly someone who's visually challenged, an overview of what's happening around them. And from there, it can be able to tell you what's happening around and so on and so forth. So that's an example of how computer vision has been implemented. And I'm not sure you can be able to see everything on this chart, but these are just examples of how different solutions and computer vision, so solutions such as classifying images, detecting objects, doing image analysis, facial detection. So, for example, in court cases and such things can be used to detect, for example, this person probably has an issue, this person does not, this person is probably the criminal, this is not. And then there's optical character recognition. Optical character recognition targets text. So if you want to read bulk amount of text, oh, can you hear me? Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I was saying, oh, I think I removed myself from the screen. So I was saying about our target audience, which is whether our target audience is students only or not. Target audience is not student only. We are targeting, the program is targeting everyone who's getting started with Azure and AI, everyone who's new to Azure, everyone who's new to AI, specifically AI on Azure. And the reason why I keep mentioning student is because students have free offers. So you can get the free $100 worth of credit for 12 months. That's a student offer. But then we also have the professional offer, let me say that, where you can get $200 worth of credit as a professional. I think that makes sense. Okay, so let's continue. Sorry for the glitch where I was lost for a few seconds. So what I want to talk about next is how Microsoft Azure deals with computer vision. So we have 4 different services under computer vision. The first one is computer vision. So computer vision is now a general Azure service that deals with computer vision. So you can use it to analyze your images, extract description, tags, see if there's any objects, and also do things like extract colors from an image. With computer vision, it's a pre-trained model, so you only get the API key and you can use it in your applications. And then you have custom vision. Custom vision, you are the one training your own model. And with this, how can you use this? With this, you can go to custom vision website, the web page for custom vision, and there you can be able to go ahead and create your own model, drag and drop, add images there, have it trained, and then it can now give you an API you can use for your applications. So that's custom vision. Face service is a unique one because you actually have to request for permissions on this. But face service enables you now to detect different facial expressions, if someone is wearing a mask or not, and then also detect faces. Then the last one is form recognizer. So in case you have like your different invoices, your different forms, for example, you have like different business cards and you want to extract information from there. You have your monthly budget and it's in receipts and you want to extract information from there. Or recently we had elections, and let's say you want to use it to detect the results for different candidates. So you can also use form recognizer for that. I'm pretty sure most countries, when you do elections, there's normally the form that gives you details on like what different candidates got in different regions. So you can test it out and see whether form recognizer can help you recognize the different results someone got, and it can be able to actually read text and so on. Okay, so that's about computer vision. The other one is natural language processing. This is the fourth one. Natural language processing is my favorite, and it deals with text, everything from speech to text, text to speech, and then just general text. And for text, for NLP, you can do a lot. So, for example, someone mentioned ChatGPT earlier. You can also try and summarize documents. You can do things like detect whether an email is spam or not. You can detect people's sentiments on different areas. So, for example, if there's an interesting topic on Twitter that's trending, and you want to check how do people feel about this topic, that's something you can also do. You can translate between different languages. So if you want to add a translator bit into your application, you can do that, and so on and so forth. For this series, we'll do a session on AI translator bot. I can't wait for you to see that because it's a bot someone built from scratch, and they can be able to showcase how you can translate from one language to another. So with Microsoft Azure, what services do you have in natural language processing? We have language, which is now understanding and analyzing text and doing things like sentiment analysis, extracting keywords and phrases from there, and so on. And then we have the translator, which is now used to translate between different languages. There were new languages added recently, and there were like 13 languages added, and there was 13 new African languages actually added, which I was very proud of because yes, I am African. So those languages, the language model continues to evolve, and right now it can be 60 languages. In future it might be more than 60, and you can be able to use it to translate whichever language you want to use. And the good thing is you can use these services together. So you can, for example, use the translator and the speech together. So with speech, it can be able to also recognize and synthesize speech and translate now spoken languages. So in case you want to do spoken languages, you can translate and then use something like the language service to now detect, is this person saying something good, is it bad, is it of a good sentiment or not, or of a negative sentiment. And then the last one is the Azure bot. We'll also have a session on Azure bot in 2 weeks, and the session will now be on someone creating a bot from scratch and how you can be able to go ahead and even use it in a web application. Okay, the last one is knowledge mining. Knowledge mining is now when you have a lot of information and you want to extract knowledge from that information. With knowledge mining, we use the Azure Cognitive Search, and you can feed your documents and your details into the Azure Cognitive Search, and it gives you, if you want to search, it can give you like details on what it's about and so on. So yeah, that's knowledge mining in Microsoft Azure. Someone mentioned about ChatGPT, so I'll always refer to that. There's one service that I've left out, but we'll have a session covering all of that. That is the Azure OpenAI service. It's in general preview, but you have to request for access. You have to fill a form to request to get access from there. But then you'll be able to see it in action, how you can be able to use it in your applications, and also how you can be able to build with it. Before I conclude, I'll have to mention a few things around risks and challenges with AI. And there are challenges you can encounter when you're building with AI. So for example, you can build a model that has bias. So we've talked about fraud in financial institutions. So what you financial institutions have a challenge of deciding someone gets a loan based on a bias. So something like a gender rule or an age rule that is biased towards a specific group of people. That's a challenge that can come up with AI. The other one is, for example, in case you have an error, for example, in anomaly detection for the car that was moving and it fails to see an obstacle in front or a barrier, it can cause harm, it can lead to harm. The other thing is, especially in medicine, you can have data exposed that you did not intend for it to be exposed. The other thing is everyone is complex. Solutions come and go, and sometimes you might find solutions that might not be able to work for all users equally. The other one is trust. So the basis of trust is how can you trust something that you don't understand, right? AI sometimes can be a bit tricky to those who are not privy to what it does and everything around it. So it might be like, okay, is this really happening? Can someone just give me replies without me feeding it knowledge, and so on and so forth. And then the last bit is responsible and accountability. So once if an AI decision goes wrong, who is accountable for this? Like, are you able to control a system from the word go, or are you able to have accountability built into AI? So we have the responsible AI framework, and it has 6 principles designed to ensure when you're building AI applications, it does not veer off and give you negative consequences. You ensure you're building it with responsible AI at the back of your mind. So we have 6 pillars, 6 principles. The first one is fairness, ensuring every people is treated fairly. For example, as I mentioned in bias, is everyone, regardless of any bias you can see, can everyone access a loan approval system? And then there's reliability and safety. I say it can cause harm. So how are this what you're building? How do we ensure that it does what it's supposed to do? If it's a motor vehicle, it can be able to detect any barriers in front of it, or if it's like you're doing a diagnosis for a patient, how do you ensure that the prescriptions are entirely true? Then we have privacy and security, so ensuring you can be able to build systems that are secure and respect people's privacy. So one thing, for example, about ChatGPT tells you, yeah, please do not share with me your private information. And it's already told you. So if you share private information, that will now be you being liable to what you're giving it. But it's already given you the what is this called? It's already given you the notice that kindly do not share personal information. So personal details must be kept personal. And then we have inclusiveness, ensuring every system that we build is there to empower everyone in the world to do more. Second last is transparency, users to be made fully aware of what exactly they're interacting with, how it will help them, and then accountability, having someone who is accountable for each and everything the AI solution you've built does. You can read further on this. Let me share the link on responsible AI. But fear no, fear not, because we will have a session on responsible AI This is me just covering it, an overview of it, because we are bound to build projects at the end. So hopefully everyone can keep these principles at the back of their minds. I'm seeing some few questions on the chat, but before I go to your questions, I have questions of my own. Since I have time, I have 3 questions of my own. And the first question is around the Azure services that I've just mentioned. You can paste the answer on the chat. So you want to create a model that predicts sales of an ice cream based on historical data that includes, for example, daily ice cream sales and totals and weather measurements. So which Azure service will you use? 1 second. Okay. So you want to create a model to predict sales of an ice cream. So you want to see, okay, in future, how much will this ice cream sell for based on data that you already have. So which service will you use? Is it Azure Machine Learning, Azure Bot, or language? Okay. This is a very good crowd. Everyone is just saying the right answer. So, of course, the answer is Azure Machine Learning. And it enables you to train a model using data that you already have to give you insights on what's happening or what will be happening in future. So I said I have 3 questions. So on to the second question. You're designing an AI application that uses images. This is an AI application and it uses images to detect cracks in car windshields and then warn drivers when the windshield should be repaired or replaced. What AI workload is described? So you have different images of windscreens and you want this model that you're building to detect whether it has a crack or not. So is it computer vision, anomaly detection, or natural language processing? Interesting answers. So there's a couple of A's, there's a couple of B's, or A's was for the previous one. Okay, let me repeat the question as I wait for the last answers. So you're designing an AI application. This application uses images and it detects cracks in car windshields, and then it warns drivers when a windshield should be repaired or replaced. What AI workload is described? Okay, I see a couple of right answers. So the answer is computer vision. We're using images, and this is analysis of images. So it's detecting an image based on whether or not it's broken or not. So it's not detecting whether a system has failed, something like that sort. It's just detecting whether it's broken or it's okay. That's where we're using computer vision. That was a tricky one. I think the first time I also failed that one because it's like, is it anomaly detection? Is it computer vision? Anyway, on to the last question. So the last one is around the ethics that I've just described, responsible AI. So a predictive application provides audio output for visually impaired users. Which principle of responsible AI is reflected here? So you have an application, and this app gives audio output. So this app probably previously just gave text and written output, but then right now it's giving also audio, specifically to cater for the visually impaired. So which principle is this? Is it transparency, inclusiveness, or fairness? Okay, so majority of the answers are between B and A. A is transparency. Transparency is around people being aware of what the system does and how it, for example, how it consumes your data. Inclusiveness is now ensuring everyone, regardless of any bias that might occur, is included. So ensuring everyone benefits from the services that you have, regardless of any physical ability, gender, sexual orientation, ethnicity, or any other factors. And then fairness is treating everyone fairly. You don't have any bias towards anyone, just treat everyone fairly. Okay, that's it for today. We've talked about AI, talked about different AI services on Azure. So I'll go quickly to some of the questions. I saw one interesting question. So let me change how I look here. No. Yep. So I saw an interesting question before I asked mine, and the question was around Copilot. Will we cover Copilot? Of course, yes. It's session number 3, so on 11th of April, same time, you'll find that session. And then the questions around Azure. Is this Azure free subscription for 1 year or is it one off? So there are 2 different Azure subscriptions that I've talked about. So there's Azure for Students. Azure for Students is free $100 worth of credits, free services, no credit card required, and you get it for a year. I can't see where it's saying a year, but you get it for a year. Yes, you get this for 1 year. And then we have the Azure free account. So for this Azure free account, you start free and then you can start pay as you go once you're done. And you get $200 worth of credit, but it's only useful for 30 days. So you'll have 30 days to use this credits. And I mentioned there are free services accompanied with this. So you might not even deplete your 200 worth of credits in the month. But also the good thing is since these credits are monthly, that means at the end of the program, if you intend to build something at the end of the program, you will have been able to build it before the month ends. And then there's a question below that. Oh yeah, there's an answer actually. And then there's a question again. Oh, the questions are now over. There's one last question around anomaly detection. Why this question is classification and not anomaly detection. For this, you're classifying whether it has a crack or not. It's a classification issue, and it's also a visual classification issue. You're not trying to identify whether it's running smoothly or not, just whether it has a crack or not. For example, with fraud detection, you can see if there's like a miss in transactions that are happening. So that means anomaly detects if there's an issue. But with computer vision, it classifies whether this has a crack or this doesn't have a crack. So that's anomaly detection. Okay, since there's no other question, I will go ahead and share the links with you all. So there's the link around Microsoft Azure for free for everyone for 30 days. I'll share the link on the chat, and then the other resources, you can see some of them on my screen. So if you're interested in continuing with this series and you want to continue learning with us, want to continue learning more about AI and Azure, of course, this will be a month-long training. You only have 2 hours every week to invest in the live sessions. And then, of course, you can follow this since it's pre-recorded, you can follow it wherever you are. But if you want to continue with this and learn more and continue interacting with us for the remainder of the month, that is the link for you. You can learn more about it and gain access to it. Ooh. The link was shortened, so let me just paste the link only without adding anything else. That's the link. And then if you have any questions, you can join us on our WhatsApp group. I've had people saying you need to be authenticated, you need the person to respond and add you in. I unfortunately am also the person adding people in. So that means I will add you as soon as the session is over. But other than that, I bid you a very good evening or a very good morning from wherever you are, hoping that you enjoy the rest of the day, hoping you've learned a lot. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. You can find me at Bethany Jep everywhere. And thank you so much for joining in. See you until next time. That is on Thursday, where we have our session on Azure ML. So if you want to learn about Azure ML and everything around Azure ML, if you want to learn about how you can build your ML solutions, that's the next session. This will specifically be on Azure ML, and then the next session we'll do it on GitHub with Python using Copilot and code spaces. So the next two sessions are very great. So see you then, and thank you so much for joining in. Have a lovely rest of your day.